Welcome, listeners, to Quickfire Questions with Fairfax and Faber, where we will be putting some quickfire questions, as the name might suggest, to some of the best riders in the business. And today's guest is the Blenheim long format 4-star winner, none other than Yasmin Ingham. Yas, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Would you rather be invisible or be able to time travel for a day?
Definitely time travel to go back and relive all of those amazing moments that I've had in the past.
What is your go-to Fairfax and Faber boot?
I think the boot that I pull out to wear the most from Fairfax and Faber would have to be the tan Rockingham ankle boot. They're just so comfortable, and again, they're just so to pair with outfits.
What is your favourite colour?
Favourite colour is blue for sure.
Yas, thank you so much. We have loved you answering our quickfire questions with Fairfax and Faber.
Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome to Podmas on the Echo Ratings Eventing podcast, where this Christmas we will be bringing you a new episode every single day in the build-up to the big day. So here we go. Let's crack on with today's show. Welcome to the Echo Ratings Eventing podcast, and listeners, we have got another Podmas episode for you, and this one we hear from Paul Tapner, who we spoke to as part of the Riders Connected series last year. And Paul, who is a former badminton winner, tells us all about his first 5-star. So let's crack on with the show. Now, first of all, my first 5-star with the 2010 badminton winner. He's represented Australia at 2 World Equestrian Games, Paul Tapner. Paul, your first 5-star, when was it? How much do you remember? Talk to us about it.
Now, see, Nicole, you've answered you've asked the key question there of how much do you remember. So, thankfully, you gave me a little bit of time to prepare for this, because I actually had to look online to figure out when my first 5-star was, because I didn't actually remember. And I've discovered by doing some own Google searching on myself that my first 5-star was Burghley in 2003 with High Point. Now, I did know that High Point was my first 5-star horse. I wasn't quite that ignorant of my own career, but I couldn't remember whether I went to Burghley first or badminton first, and I'm a little embarrassed to say that I remember very little of going to Burghley first with High Point. I have a lot of recollection of going to badminton first with him, but I don't have a huge amount of recollection of going there. I placed 22nd or 3rd or something of the kind. So a few time penalties and a few rails down kept me out of the top placings, but certainly a clear round around my first 5-star with the legendary High Point was a good result, I think.
Yeah, I love the fact that you Googled yourself. I mean, that's always dangerous, isn't it? It's a slippery slope. But tell us a bit about High Point, because he took you to your first 5-star, clear cross country. Even if you don't remember it, that's still an epic result.
Yeah, I mean, he was a very unique horse and a very special horse, and certainly the horse that gave me my career in eventing in the UK. I mean, I was a professional event rider before coming to the UK, but he certainly enabled me to be a professional event rider in the UK, because he was the horse that I won Bramham on, and that shot me into the limelight in the UK eventing scene. So he was a really cool little horse. He was very small. He was Polish warm blood, so looked very thoroughbred, but very much warm blood engines. Was so slow across country, and so he really struggled to make the distance. And his owners, Helen Rowe and Sarah Smith, and they used to worry that he would not make the time around a novice, and then he got to intermediate and they'd worried he wouldn't make the time around intermediate. And he, every time he stepped up a level, he did step up a level in terms of his ability. And I say he was naturally slow. Obviously to win Bramham, he actually, once he got to those levels and established himself at those levels, he did learn to go at the speed required. So an amazing little horse that was I'm very, very fond of.
So it was Burghley 2003. Do you remember anything about the experience? Do you remember being very nervous?
The only thing I remember, and I seem to remember that it was Tim and Janelle Price were there, and I seem to remember that it was Tim's first time at Burleigh as well. Now, I could be totally wrong. It could be a different year. And I just seem to remember camping not far down the row of horse boxes from them, and them sitting around a campfire, and it just seeming like they were in New Zealand. It was like there was such a take the New Zealander out of New Zealand, but you can't take the New Zealander or the Aussie out of the person. And here he was in English horse trials, recreating a little bit of what would be very familiar at an Australian or New Zealand horse trials, where you all sit outside around a campfire. And I just seem to remember that scene. That's the one thing that sticks in my head. Now, I don't remember whether that was my first Burleigh at the same time as his first Burleigh, but I'm pretty sure.
I'm that year.
99% certain it was Tim's first year. And it just stuck in my memory that it was such a funny occurrence, and Tim and Janelle now, you would never expect them to do anything like that. They're in their big flash, European lorries like the rest of every other pro event rider. But it was just that, they were so stereotypical in their behaviour as fresh-faced New Zealand event riders come to make their mark on the Northern Hemisphere circuit. As was I. But that's probably one of my favourite memories of that particular event.
I imagine quite reassuring as well, because it's a little bit of what you were very used to, and a little bit normal.
Yeah, exactly, and that camaraderie as well, and that whole concept of event riders being good mates. We're all fierce competitors. We're all fiercely competitive against each other, but away from the competition arenas, we are all great mates, and I'd be, I've had many a good social evening on an occasion with the Price family, the extended Price family, and that friendship has been forged from that point on, because I didn't know Tim and Janelle at that stage. I didn't know who they were. I'd never met them in New Zealand or Australia. I only met them over here, and it's been through traveling around the eventing circuit and the European eventing circuit, going to those sort of situations that you get to know these people, and privileged to say that they're now mates.
I love that. So Burleigh 2003, your first 5-star, and the start of a beautiful friendship with the Prices as well. Okay, Paul, thank you for sharing your first memory with us. There you go, listeners, another Podmas episode for you. And don't forget that in the build up to Christmas, we will have a brand new show for you every single day. So if you don't already, then make sure you hit the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss a show. For now, though, that is all we've got time for. We'll be back very soon with more on the Echo Ratings Eventing podcast.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!